Good evening, everyone. My name is Kiani Igwe with Griffin and Strong. I'll be conducting this public meeting this evening, and we'll get started probably around a little right after 5 to give everyone a chance to jump on since we're at the end of the workday. But thank you so much for being here and for being prompt. We're excited to hear from you. Good evening, everyone. If you're just now joining us, my name is Kiani Igwe. I'm a project manager with Griffin and Strong, and I'll be conducting this evening's public meeting. Thank you so much for being here and for being prompt. We are going to give everyone a couple of minutes to get on, so we are starting at the end of the workday. So we will get started no later than 5 after the hour, but thank you so much for being here. If someone could confirm that you're looking at the right thing on my screen, that you're looking at the presentation as opposed to something else, I'd appreciate that via chat or unmuting yourself, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we can see your presentation, Kiani. Hi.
Hi, thank you, Sylvia.
And hello to everyone else. Good afternoon.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started to honor everyone's time. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Kiani Igwe. I'm a project manager with Griffin and Strong, a law and public policy firm in Atlanta, Georgia, that's been contracted by the city of Gainesville to complete a disparity study. And for just a moment, I'm going to go over the scope of the disparity study and then the scope of this evening's public meeting. The scope of the disparity study is for us to assess whether or not there are disparities that exist between the utilization of minority and women-owned businesses in city procurement and the availability of MBEs and WBEs, even with the small business program in place. So tonight's event, this public meeting, is part of the anecdotal data collection phase of our disparity study. We've already begun collecting quantitative data and analyzing that, as well as data about the private sector and the marketplace in the city of Gainesville. But tonight is about anecdotal data collection, what the courts allow us to use to corroborate our statistical findings. And so honestly, the point of this evening is to hear from you so that we can really know what's going on in the community, both by anecdote and by numbers. Numbers only tell so much of the story. So this evening is going to be a lot of me taking notes and listening to all of you. So we want to hear candid testimony about your experiences doing business or attempting to do business with the city of Gainesville. And when we say candid, we really do mean it. Positive, negative, neutral, any and everything you feel willing to share, we want to hear. So everything that's said in this meeting will be available for public record, but our final report will not include any identifying information like your name or your firm name or any other affiliations if you do choose to give testimony. You can give testimony this evening either by unmuting yourself, and we'll discuss that in a moment, or if you're in a position where that's not necessarily possible, if you've got tiny humans or pets or you're in the car, you're more than welcome to put that in the chat. If at some point in the evening you have trouble making the Zoom work, I will also put the disparity study email in the chat, and you can provide comment there as well. Because the purpose of this evening is collecting information, we're not actually answering questions this evening. We are only soliciting commentary. So if you do have questions about the disparity study, about where we're at, or about how it works, or what the purpose of it is, we are more than happy to accept those questions and answer them via the disparity study email. And I'll put that in the chat during our time together, and we'll get you an answer to those questions. Also, if your question is more directed to the city, we'll make sure you get directed to the correct person. In just a moment, I'm going to open the floor with our big overarching question. As comments come in, I may have clarifying questions just to make sure that I'm taking notes on and hearing you accurately on what you're sharing. But we'll have one big overarching question over our time together. If and when you do choose to share, I would ask that you either use the raise hand function on Zoom or unmute yourself. I'll do my best to facilitate that to make sure we're not all talking at the same time. As you begin your commentary, please state your name and your firm name for the record. Again, that will not be in the final report, but it is available for public record. So in just a moment, we'll get started to hear your experiences doing business or attempting to do business with the city of Gainesville. But I have received feedback in the past that I talk really urgently. And so if any of the format is unclear, I'll pause here for a moment to make sure that no one has questions about the format of tonight's public meeting. Okie dokie. Our first overarching question is, what has been your experience doing business or attempting to do business with the city of Gainesville? Please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself when you're ready to share. Yes, Falade is the last name. I'm not sure of the gender.
It's Shay Falladay.
Falade. Miss Falade, please go ahead.
Yes. So we work we're a subcontractor. We provide, the name of the company is Cornerstone Barricades. We provide temporary traffic control services to general contractors who work within 14 feet of the paved road. We have provided services directly to the city, as well as contractors who are working on city projects. We have found that the inspectors that we work with, we take pride in our work. And so we feel as though that's one of the reasons why we've had a favorable relationship thus far with the city of Gainesville.
Thank you so much.
Kiani, this is Sylvia. I see that we've had a few people join after you kind of told people how the format would go. Do you mind kind of repeating? Because I've seen that several people have joined since you got started. So maybe kind of letting them know where we are now.
No problem. Thank you so much for being here for tonight's public meeting. This is a part of our anecdotal phase collection of the disparity study. My name is Kiani Igwe, a project manager with Griffin and Strong. The purpose of this evening is to collect commentaries. It's going to be a lot of me listening, taking notes, asking some clarifying questions, and giving opportunity for you as community members to share your experience. The overarching question that I've given to everyone present right now that we're soliciting responses to is, what has been your experience doing business or attempting to do business with the city of Gainesville? And we are soliciting candid testimony, positive, negative, neutral, and everything in between. So please feel free to either use your raise hand function or unmute yourself whenever you're ready to provide testimony. Thank you, Sylvia.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kiani. Now, this is Sylvia, everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm the Equal Opportunity Manager with the City of Gainesville Office of Equity and Inclusion. We just want to encourage you, for those who are here who are business owners, you offer services or materials. This is a safe zone for you. We want to know how you feel about attempting to do business with the city, whether you've ever done business with us or not. We just want you to really feel comfortable sharing your experiences. Whether they're positive, whether they're negative, whether they're neutral, as she said. This is just kind of an information gathering piece, because we definitely would like to know how to better serve you. So I know some business owners on the line, so we want to encourage you to feel free to share your experiences with attempting to do business with the city. Just don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable sharing. This is a safe space.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so thanks for that clarity, Sylvia. I just wanted to I wasn't sure if there were other additional questions to be posed to the group. We work a lot with the city. I think I actually even submitted an example of where we've quoted directly, I think, to an email address. I don't know if it was a correct email address. One of the biggest, things, and it's actually really encouraging to see this conversation happening regarding the disparity study. We actually, Cornerstone, as a result of the work and nature that of our work, we work with different cities in the state of Florida. And particularly because we're based in Gainesville, we have, unique interests. And we found that oftentimes when we bid for work directly with the city, we are beat out by competitors. And so a different contractor is chosen. And so therefore we are unable to provide services. And one of the things that we found doing businesses in areas like Jacksonville, Tampa, and other locations is a hometown advantage or a local discount that's offered to contractors that actually enables them at least to have one step forward. So being a small business, we have unique challenges that we oftentimes can't beat out corporations that are larger than ours. And I think that has been, one element that we felt would help us secure more contracts with the city of Gainesville. So we have work and we are recommended for work often. But we have found specific examples where we've been on work and the feedback provided has been that we were too expensive in that particular case. So I think that that would be one thing that would stand out for us, is that lack of having a hometown advantage or a local or a discount that is provided to local contractors to help them be more competitive.
Thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. Ms. Burns, I see you're unmuted, but we cannot hear you.
That's because I hadn't started talking yet.
Okay, sorry about that.
I do work for a service-disabled veteran-owned small business here in Gainesville. We have had several projects that we have done, mainly parks projects. We haven't had any problems with procuring work or the competitive process. It is kind of slow sometimes just working with the city to get purchase orders and things taken care of. But as far as being able to get work and feeling like the competitive process is fair, we do feel that it has been a fair process, and we have greatly enjoyed the projects that we have had with the city.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Everyone, I want to reiterate that as much as you're willing to share, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Those of you who've already chosen to share, those of you who provided private comments in the chat, we greatly appreciate it. The more you share, the more our study will be aligned to the actual experience in Gainesville. We're not in Gainesville, and we're gathering as much information as we possibly can, but the more we can hear directly from you as community members and firm owners, the more accurate and aligned to your experience the disparity study will be. So we'd love to hear about your experience of any part of the process of doing business or attempting to do business with the city of Gainesville, whether that's finding out about opportunities, bidding, being awarded, the actual project work or payment, or the ending of projects. We'd love to hear about any and all of that process to make sure that our report is aligned to your actual experience as a firm owner in the city of Gainesville. I'm going to leave this question that we have posed, that what has been your experience, but want to clarify that we're wanting to hear about any and all parts of that experience and greatly appreciate the comments that have already been shared. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add, because I can actually, when you had said any and all parts, I feel like I can speak more about being a subcontractor on City of Gainesville projects than I can speak to being, doing business directly. And from that perspective, I feel like I've shared some of this already, in the conversations, that were being had. But again, I think one of the things that has been the biggest challenge is due to the fact that we work in other cities. And so it's almost, we can do a direct comparison in terms of how procurement is done and how the advancement or the support is provided for DBEs or SBE and MBE companies in the form of goals and set-asides. And I think that what was a stark difference is that, and primarily I refer to two particular cities because that's where we do work, Jacksonville and Tampa, that there are set-asides for MBEs in particular. And that has actually led us to secure work in those environments and grow. And so we, as a result, have had the ability to feel supported in those markets. And then it has led to us even hiring in those cities as well. And so it just felt like there was a difference in terms of the structure provided to the nature of saying we want to work with small and minority businesses, but just there was no implementation or no program. And so I know that for us, that has been something that I felt like as a subcontractor, that avenue that was provided made it easier as well to secure subcontracts on within other cities because of the fact that they had those goals. I do know that one thing that I am rather appreciative of with the City of Gainesville, unlike other cities or experiences in terms of payment for the invoices, that's on time. It's ACH, it's rather direct, so there's no issues with that, which is, that can cause great impact to a small business. So I feel like the City of Gainesville scores high marks in that regard and compared to other cities. But I feel, but a part of me just doesn't want to just sit here and just talk about and just dominate the conversation. So that's why I'm rather reserved. But we've been in business for 5 going on 6 years here in the city, and we have, one of our, I would say, projects that led to us being able to secure other work was the City of Gainesville CRA project on South Main Street, where we worked as a sub. And just knowing that for us, I feel like that particular project really set the foundation of what, of who we are and gave us a chance to get to prove our ability. And so, I look forward to other contracts in that way. So I don't have negative experiences. I just feel like there are opportunities for the City of Gainesville to do better.
No, that's wonderful. I appreciate it. Like I said, any and all testimony, and you're not dominating the conversation. I'm hoping that the more that you share, the more that elicits in other folks, oh, I did think this about payment, or I did have a subcontractor experience. So as you're listening to other folks share, if this elicits something in your mind, please feel free to share, because we do want to hear about prime, subcontractor, bidding, any and all experiences. So any suggestions are helpful too, to be like, what do you think the city should do?
Yeah. So there's 2 things. One, I will say that I feel as though would be helpful if implemented. When working with other cities, as I mentioned, there is an auditing process that happens every single month to verify that you're being paid on time. It's actually the same portal. And so every single month they verify, hey, this contractor reported that they received payment, that they paid you this amount, and they just want you to verify. I think that leads to accountability. It makes things a lot easier for a subcontractor who doesn't necessarily, want to ruffle any feathers or burn any bridges. But especially within construction, the timeliness of that is very important with, the upfront costs of buying materials and all of that nature. So that is something. Additionally, usually when I'm bidding, particularly in those other two markets that I mentioned, there are letters of intent that are required for the contractor to submit when they are bidding on a project. So it's not just, sort of these are the goals. And yes, we did ask. There is, documentation in that regard. And following award, the city also checks in to see if you were asked to provide a quote. So there are measures that are made to, at every particular stage of a bid from announcement to award, to sort of guide the process along to meet certain objectives. And that's just something that I've seen that's been lacking for the city of Gainesville.
Thank you so much. I want to name that perhaps you have not done business with the city or attempted to do business with the city. And so we'd also love to hear any reasoning you have for not attempting to do business with the city. Perhaps if you didn't know how to see bid opportunities, if you've had some experiences that have barred you from wanting to participate, we'd love to hear about, if you have not attempted to do business with the city of Gainesville, why you have not attempted to do business with the city of Gainesville. So I want to open that up as far as experiences are concerned.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks. How are you doing?
I want to know about doing business with the city. I am a small business owner and I have not done business with the city. And one of the problems I fell into is that, in my category, it was hard, knowing like what department to go to for the services that I provide, getting the contacts to that particular department, as well as now I may have another barrier that may be somewhat a barrier that I'm not quite sure at this point. But I recently became an employee with the city, so I think that may be another barrier for me as far as doing with the city, doing business with the city at this point as well. But before being an employee, those were the things that I came into contact that was hard.
Thank you, Ms. Sams. Could you let us know the name of your firm or your business? You are muted. I'm so sorry.
Event planning and rentals.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
So I'm just, as I'm sitting here sort of thinking of different things, again, I probably should identify myself. Shay Faladay with Cornerstone Barricades. When you started asking about things that may be challenges for people when it comes to doing business with the city, I do know that at times it can, when you're new, the pre-bid meetings, that whole experience can be rather intimidating. I've gone, Parks McCarran and City Hall. One thing that is unique about the city of Gainesville, particularly, is that a lot of the contractors are rather familiar and have secured contracts before and are sort of known within the area. So it can feel a little like where everyone is rather familiar with one another. Versus when you go to markets and environments that are a lot larger, there are several contractors from all over, particularly in Tampa. There's recent increase due to their infrastructure budget. So there's contractors from Louisiana, contractors from California. It's a very diverse group in the sense that not everyone is familiar or knows everyone. And so I think that can be a bit challenging. From experience of attending other pre-bid meetings, there is some time to sort of take in form of, yes, introduction and the agenda, but also helping in terms of wearing name tags and identifying who's who, and providing sort of a run through of how the pre-bid meetings will be conducted. So I think that that can be a challenge, just that experience alone of going, and it can be hard for someone who's new to the entire process.
Thank you. Sorry, my computer decided they didn't want to participate anymore, but thank you for your comment. Mr. Moore, I saw you unmuted a moment ago. If you would like to share, please feel free to do so. As we await for folks to provide their commentary, I want to remind us a couple of themes that have been brought up in today's conversation so far. So if you have any comments or testimony about these themes regarding your experience attempting to business with the city, doing business with the city, or why you haven't business with the city, we'd love to hear it. So we have heard about prompt payment. We have heard about hometown advantage or local set-asides. We've heard about pre-bid meetings. And we've also just heard about the experience of being a subcontractor on a city project. So if you have any comments you'd like to share about any of those themes, we'd love to hear them. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself, to raise your hand, or provide your comment in the chat.
I want to comment and ask that, and when you get the pre-bid information, and when you receive, so getting all that information together. So as a small business owner, is there a place to help us if we don't know there's information that's needed, or the information that is needed in there, we need help getting it together, putting it together? Is there a place for us, or somewhere to go to get that help?
Miss Sylvia, yes, please. Could you provide the answer to her question in the chat so everyone can see it, please?
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and send my information, put my information in the chat so that if anyone has any small business related questions or anything outside of your experience, I will be happy to help you. So I'm gonna go ahead and send my information for everyone in the chat. Thank you, Irma.
Hey, Keone, can I say something?
Yes, please. Don't forget to introduce yourself and your firm. But yes, we'd love to hear from you.
My video on, but we're gonna- Hey, so I'm Nahul. We're Modernized Mobile. We develop apps and software, and we also do digital marketing. I just moved out of Gainesville after like 15 years. It's past March to Tampa, but I don't have a lot of experience with the government field in Gainesville per se. But we've spent the last like 2 years doing a lot of kind of building out our own internal government team. So we applied to probably 25 to 30 RFPs between a lot of software and app projects. But my only issue with Gainesville with the government side would have been that there's not a lot of like directive in terms of like what to actually do, how it actually the government contracting takes place as opposed to kind of the cookie cutter kind of score and those kind of entities. So I was just kind of at a loss for that, even though we've dumped a lot of resources into that. So right now I have a handful of consultants, but they're not really looking at Gainesville per se, even though we have a lot of kind of connections in there. But yeah, that's what I would add for the government side.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that comment. Good evening, everyone. We are at 40 after the hour and want to make sure we're honoring everyone's time. So I want to lift to you a couple of the themes that have been discussed so far and would love to hear any experiences, comments, suggestions to the City of Gainesville about the following themes. We've discussed pre-bid meetings, bid opportunities and finding out about them, MBE and local set-asides, and prompt payment. So if you have any comments about your experience doing business with the city, attempting to business with the city regarding these themes, or others that have yet to be lifted, we'd love to hear about them. Either you can raise your hand, unmute yourself, provide your comment in the chat. I know it feels like I'm beating a dead horse, but I am not a firm owner in Gainesville, and we want to hear from as many of you as humanly possible to make sure the anecdotal data collection phase of this study is accurate and aligned to your experience, so that the results of this study are actually helpful to you as firm owners in Gainesville. And so we're only going to pull from what we hear, and the more we hear, the better. So I'm looking forward to hearing from those of you who have yet to share. It is now 5:45. This public meeting is scheduled to be until 6:30, but that is to give everyone time to speak. And so I want to offer one last invitation to provide your commentary regarding doing business or attempting to do business with the city, or if you have not done business with the city, why you have not. I provided the themes already discussed in the chat. So if you'd like to provide commentary about those, you're more than welcome to. In just a moment, I will also provide the project email in the chat if for some reason you were unable to provide commentary this evening or remember something later while you're making dinner or when you're on the call with a client later this week you'd like to share, we're more than willing to receive those. And we'll also be holding another public meeting later this week. So I'm going to provide one last invitation to provide your commentary in this call. And then given several minutes of silence, we will end the call to honor everyone's time. But I'm here and available until 6:30. And so would love to hear from as many of you as are willing to share. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and end our public meeting here, but I want to provide a final encouragement that you provide your commentary unshared here via the email, because the disparity study is for you guys. The results of the disparity study, what we discover, we only know what the numbers and the community members tell us. And so we want to hear from as many of you as possible to make sure that it's accurate. I would hate for the study to come out later this year and someone be disappointed they didn't say this, or what about this? They didn't do this and they didn't address this. We only know what the numbers and you guys tell us. And so if you're available on Thursday to participate, we'd love to see you there. But if not, would love to receive your commentary in the study email. The email's in the chat. It's GainesvilleStudy@gspclaw.com. And thank you so much for participating in tonight's public meeting for the anecdotal data collection of the Gainesville Disparity Study. Thank you so much. If you have questions, please feel free to stay on. Anyone who's still on the call have questions for me or something you want to share you didn't feel comfortable sharing with the entire group? Gainesville City team, would you like to debrief on this call before we jump off?
Yes, ma'am.
Okie dokie. For community members who are still present, I am going to ask you to exit. I'm going to give you a couple minutes if you're driving or making dinner, talking to a tiny human. But again, would love to hear your comment via email or in Thursday's public meeting if you weren't available to share it today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I was talking, Kiana. I apologize. I was saying yes.
I heard you. Yes, I got you.
Okay, I thought I had myself muted. Okay.
No, you're good. That's why I was like, okay, everyone, thank you.
Because I looked in front, I was like, okay, my mic was muted, but I thought she responded to me.
No, I got you. You are completely correct. I heard you.
Okay, good.
Yes, if you have tiny humans in your house, I understand. If you can't unmute yourselves, that's fair. I have a tiny dog, so understood.
What kind of dog you have, Kiani?
I have an Aussie Doodle. She's half Australian Shepherd, half Poodle, all energy, and she's only 10 months, so she's a lot. She's a lot. All right, those of you who are still present, community members, I am going to put you in the waiting room, not out of a lack of love, just so that we can debrief and honor everyone's time. Okie dokie.
Okay. Wow. So a lot of people were quiet. I know you're accustomed to the awkward silence, so because y'all have done this a lot of times, but I guess my thoughts are that some people get on, they may have thoughts, but obviously if I want to do business with the municipality or government organization and I have something negative to say, I'm probably not going to be inclined to say it in a public meeting. Do you find that some people have a tendency to message you privately?
I did get a couple comments, and we saved the chat from here as part of our anecdotal collection. So I do have a couple of those. And it is possible that because you and Shakayla are present, people feel less likely to share. That does happen every once in a while, that folks are like, well, if the city's here, I can't say anything.
That's something to think about. So you think we should not jump on the meeting for the 20th?
I think you can hop on and then maybe hop off halfway through, depending on how it's going. We've done it both ways, where people are present and they don't say anything. People are present and they do say things. People are not present at all, as far as from the jurisdiction. So we've done it all of those ways. I have found that a lot of people attend these public hearings or meetings expecting to receive information, and so they weren't prepared to give commentary. That's often why it's pretty quiet at the top of these calls. And I have found that my second ones traditionally in the almost a year that I've been at the firm go better because people have heard like, oh, okay, this is about talking. And I try to make it really clear at the top that I'm like, hey, I'm listening. But sometimes people are still like, wait, I want to know about things. Like, I'd love to tell you, but not right now. So that's up to you guys can sort of debrief together what you feel like is best.
We probably should not just listening, because I know our city auditor was on and she jumped off, and I said, she messaged me and I said, yeah, people probably would feel a little bit intimidated knowing the city auditor is on the phone on the call. So anyway, she jumped off, but I think it's probably best that we not be on because we do represent the city, and I won't feel comfortable sharing. So we will not be on the next one.
Okay.
But I thought we should be. That's the only reason we're on, because trust me, we don't like to work past 5 o'clock. Well, Shakayla might.
No, I don't.
That's not true. That's more than fair. Yeah.
We will be MIA on the next meeting, but of course, if you need anything from us, let us know, and I'm going to send out another reminder to the business community that I have contacts for to remind them that.
Okay, and we'll send out our big email will go out again on Thursday morning. Okay, I'll make sure that I have your contact information. So if questions like Miss Sam's had come up again, like, wait, I just want to know how to do business, I can connect them with you, so we're not missing that opportunity in those public meetings.
That sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Any questions, any feedback?
Yes, I had a question. So with the survey, is that live or no?
The survey actually just closed Monday evening, and we had a really good response. We got 299 responses with a little over 100 partial completed. So we will be getting those tables the next week or so. So that actually did just close. Sylvia asked me about that via the chat as well, or I would have provided it to folks. But we have a really good response there. So I think that data will be really helpful.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, Shakayla, I was about to text that to you, but Ryan kept texting me back to back because I was getting ready to tell you, hey, the survey closed.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess after the next, so historically speaking, do you typically get a lot of people responding in these sessions?
It really varies. Some of it depends on like who gets on the call. I do find that when the average age is over like 35 or 40, I do get a lot more responses because my older folks love to chit chat. It also depends on if they know each other. I feel like it's really helpful when firm owners are on the call and they have community amongst other already, and that will elicit like conversation, and then I don't even need to like say anything. They're just like talking to one another and sort of bouncing off what each other is sharing. And so it really does vary, but the awkward silences are pretty common.
Okay. I figured, but I just wonder, do you ever do these in person, or they're all virtual?
We've been doing them virtual, given the whole pandemic. We did used to do them in person. I was not with the firm when we did them in person. So I would, if you were looking for like what they were like in person, I can get you some information about that. I was just not a part of that phase of the firm. I was not here pre-pandemic.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. It's, like you guys said, you don't want to, I imagine as a business owner, they don't want to, bash the city in front of a whole bunch of people.
You'd be surprised. We get some very frustrated firm owners on these calls. I would say this is probably the thrust of these comments being predominantly positive is abnormal, which is great for you guys, that people are saying, yeah, things are great. I would just love to see some other things. But usually the conversation tends more negative than today's conversation.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hopefully the one on Thursday will be a little bit more conversational, but I won't be there, so I wish you well.
Thank you.
All right, Kiani, thank you so much.
Of course, you'll have a great evening.
Kayla.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.